Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hopefully you are doing well. Welcome back to another video. We have so much to talk about in this video. It's been a bit slow recently because we're not at the point where I want to make predictions yet. I'm just not comfortable. We've got so many transfers, so many things still going on that I don't know what squad looks like what yet. And we're also still about 25 days away from the football starting. So expect predictions, stuff like that to probably start in 2 weeks. We don't have any match reactions because there's no football. So what are we left with? Well, we're left with transfer news. And there's actually some pretty interesting stuff going on, I would say, in the last 2 days that we haven't covered yet. Now, massive stories. Obviously, Arsenal have their striker with Gyökeres, which I ended up really enjoying that for them. I think it's a great signing. He's a guy that's just scored a boatload of goals in the last 2 seasons. So if you're betting on someone, you're betting on someone that has really scored a lot of goals in the Champions League as well. Also, Liverpool have signed their striker, which is Hugo Ekitike, which means the sock move is definitely off at this point. They just spent 70, 80, 90 mil, I don't know the exact fee, on Hugo Ekitike, who is definitely still more of a bet, I think. He's a good player. They're betting on he can develop into something really special at Liverpool. Definitely has the movement that suits Liverpool in that position. And I'll tell you this, they still have Darwin Núñez. So I think starting the season, Hugo Ekitike is going to start, but they do still have a striker. As much as Darwin Núñez gets memed, you know what? I think we're still waiting on Darwin Núñez to really show out, and it looks like he's going to start the season as a Liverpool player. Not saying he's going to start for Liverpool. Hugo Ekitike will. But let's talk about the news because that is not what I'm talking about today. Those two stories, they've happened. The teams got their strikers. We're talking about a few more stories that I actually think are quite interesting. Let's start with the first one. One of the teams in the world that is the most impressive right now, Chelsea. I know. They closed the season really well, and they closed the Club World Cup smacking the best team in Europe. So if you're a Chelsea fan, you have a lot to be looking forward to next season because that team looks like they figured it out. Enzo feels like he's starting to really, Enzo Maresca, not Enzo Fernandes, really starting to develop and figure out what he's got with that side. And I tell you this, listen to this story. Understand Chelsea are advancing in talks with Xavi Simons on personal terms. Xavi is keen on the move and open to joining Chelsea. Direct talks in progress to agree contract details and terms. Chelsea want to be fast ahead of the club-to-club talks with Leipzig. Guys, I'm going to be real. I absolutely love this. Xavi Simons is one of the most technical and creative and smart players in the attack in football right now. And I said what I said. I mean what I said. I've seen him play about 20 matches of football in his career. And I'll tell you this. He started at PSG, right? Super hyped up kid. Goes to PSV. Goes crazy. Anyone that watches PSV season was like, damn. This man went crazy. I think he finished the season in the league with like 19 goals, 8 assists, gets a move to Leipzig, has been contributing at Leipzig, I think, for 2 seasons now. He's been doing well. He's been giving them pretty much in the Bundesliga 20 to 30 goal contribution seasons, goals and assists combined. He's been a really solid player. It's not the stats with this guy. It's what he creates. It's what he does. He's a really unique player. And yeah, obviously, people know Xavi Simons as a cam, but I'll tell you this. He's done a service out when he goes on the wing on the left. He's really good there too. So I'm trying to think, okay, with Chelsea, how does it work with Chelsea? Because I think Chelsea plays better when Enzo Fernandes. Why am I talking like I'm Portuguese? Enzo Fernandez. I'll be American. I'm sorry. When he gets more advanced. And Palmer, man, when Palmer's out on the right, the way that Chelsea is doing it, right, where they've got a nightmare mismatch. When Gusto's pushing forward, James is behind him. We saw it like the best left back in the world and the best manager in the world. They didn't even know what to do. So it looks like we found the home for Palmer where he really should be. So look, you know, Xavi Simons out on the left. Let me tell you these stats. In his career, 59 games played, 18 goals, 17 assists. Attacking midfield, 41 games, 19 goals, 12 assists, right? What this gives you, however, and also listen to this, center forward, 10 games played, 5 goals, 6 assists. What can't this guy do, right? And I'll tell you this, he's a super talent. So we look at the way that Chelsea is actually planning on lining up next season, right? And like just projected what we at least maybe what we just saw. Bynel Gittins, people forget he's coming in. He's a great player from Dortmund. I've seen him. He looks really good. He's a guy that's getting better and better. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, this is the exact Chelsea lineup, right? Because there's maybe a player or two here that doesn't match. But I'll tell you this, Enzo and Caicedo really just showed PSG levels about who's got the best midfield in the world. We could still say from the aesthetic side of things, it's PSG. But those two together, oh my goodness, Reece James getting in that role and Palmer out on the right. So I look at this and I say, wow, they just brought in Liam Delap, who off the bench has looked superb, right? Comes right in. Both matches I saw looks crazy. And even in the match he started, he looks really good. Joao Pedro, is showing us shades of R9. So if I'm a Chelsea fan and this actually does get done, you're not going to be able to get Xavi Simons for cheap because Leipzig will want money for him. His market value is about 70, 80 mil for the transfer fee. I love it, though. I really love it. I actually could see Xavi Simons being a really good player at Chelsea. So we'll see if this goes through. It looks like Chelsea know, wait a second, why is this guy still available? Right? And they're trying to make this move fast. So if you're a Chelsea fan, I think you have a lot to be excited about here. I reacted to, I think it goes on the Instagram or the TikTok, the Xavi Simons like last 25 shots. We've been doing that a lot. Bro, the guy, it's one of the best last 20, last 25s I've seen. And it completely checks out what I've watched from him in real life. Because the sample size I've seen from Xavi Simons, I really like him as a player. It adds more creativity to this Chelsea lineup. And from what I have seen in the match footage of Xavi Simons, watching the games for the Netherlands, watching the Leipzig, even I watched some PSV games when he was there, when he was lighting up the league. The guy has like a real fire passion in him. Like he really wants to win. So it's another guy going to this Chelsea team that is going to want to win. And we see that competitive edge with some of these Chelsea players. I got to say, I think Chelsea is a sleeping giant in the Premier League next season because I'm looking at these other teams. Arsenal's getting all the hype, right? Because they've got a striker. They're getting a great midfielder in Zubamendi and some other players, and they've been really good the last couple seasons. Liverpool is the clear favorite at this point, right? The clear favorite. Man City made a couple signings, right? They will probably be better. But I think Chelsea's a sleeping giant. Let's not forget that what they did to this PSG team, and if they're going to be able to bring in another creative player into this team like Xavi Simons, all I will say is, look, at this point, you need to trust what Enzo Maresca is going to do for this team, what he sees fit, what he sees best, what he showed us in the final, the way he's had this team lining up. Not to mention, when we look at this lineup, like, let's not forget about Pedro Neto. They've got so much depth in this team now, so you may sit there and say, well, how does Xavi Simons make sense for this team? They have too many players. I'll tell you this, bringing in that level of a talent, it doesn't hurt at all. And it really helps cover some of the depth because you look at the side here, Pedro Neto, Liam Delap, right? Other names we're not mentioning, right? It's important throughout the whole season. If you're going to really make a title push in Chelsea next season or a trophy push, they're going to need depth, bro, because I tell you, every time Liverpool's getting a player, what happens next? The rest of the league adds a player or we see a new transfer rumor. So I like this a lot for Chelsea. I wanted to talk about that. I just like Xavi Simons a lot. He's a player that I have watched over the years and I've really enjoyed. Let's get into the next story. Bayern Munich are ready to offer 81 million euros to Liverpool for Luis Diaz. Wow. Will they get the Colombian Luis Diaz or will they get the Liverpool Luis Diaz? Look, I'll tell you this. I think Bayern Munich is a great place for a player like Luis Diaz, Rafael Leao to thrive. I really do. I think the setup of the way Bayern Munich have their team right now. Now, you do have Musiala out for a few months, but the players they got there, I think Olise is making a campaign going into this season that he wants to show the entire world that he's the best right winger in the world. So we will see what he shows us this season. And yeah, I said what I said. We got Yamal. Maybe it's time to say we got Palmer there. We got Salah. We have so many players in that position that are showing out. But I think he might be ready to show the world this season. Look, this team is ready to go for any attacker stepping in there, especially on the left because they really need some depth there. Kingsley Coman, great player. A lot of injuries. They just offloaded Sané. So I understand Bayern Munich are trying to go get someone. They already tried with Nico Williams. Looks like they're going with Luis Diaz over Rafa Leao. And guys, this is massive news because Luis Diaz has told Liverpool many times he's open to leaving. Doesn't mean he wants to leave, but it means if the club is willing to hear offers. And, I think Liverpool will look at Luis Diaz that, yeah, Luis Diaz fits the Liverpool team very well in the sense that very high fitness, very high work rate. But the inconsistency, yeah, it's been a question mark. We've seen a month with Luis Diaz. I remember at the start of last season when everybody was saying he was better than Mo Salah. And I am a person that watches a lot of South American and international football. In the Colombia shirt, it is something that Liverpool fans sit there and say, man, I wish we could have this every week. Because, wow, how he plays with the national team. It is impressive, okay? So people will meme the transfer values of the 81 mil. I think Bayern, look, they know they're going to have to bid a high value. They already put in, I think, a 65 or 68 million, I think it was million euro bid. Liverpool denied it. So basically, Liverpool saying, look, we want more money for him. And where things get interesting now, okay? And Mia Mia, who I think is very reliable, is also reporting this. Where it gets interesting, right, is that now this is what's going on. Okay, so now Real Madrid are saying they are awaiting a call from Liverpool, which could come next week to negotiate the transfer of Rodrigo. Real Madrid value him at 80 mil. Now, look, Rodrigo is a footballer that, for me, I do not want to see him stay at Real Madrid his whole career if he's going to have this issue. And it's not his issue, it's Real Madrid's issue. 1 week, do we go Mbappe? Now we got this kid Garcia's playing well. Well, Vinny's going to play. This guy's going to play, okay? It's obviously great at a football club to have way too many good players, but the treatment Rodrigo has been getting, where Xabi Alonso really didn't even play him at the Club World Cup, I was like, wait a second, we might have to ask the question. We have heard from Jude Bellingham and other players that Rodrigo is the most talented player at Real Madrid. We have heard that, and we have seen Rodrigo do a bit of magic, okay? If it's not Real Madrid, that's a UCL team with some DDA and stuff like that in the recent couple years. We've seen Liverpool have a lot of that like aura in the UCL, and they will be picking up another player that can really boost them for that. This guy, Rodrigo, not the crazy statistics all time, 24 years old at this point, and obviously his wages are through the roof. But I think Liverpool are looking at this situation that if you were to take one thing away from Rodrigo, he wants to contribute to winning culture, okay? The games I've watched from Real Madrid, from what I have seen, he just works very hard. When we watch Real Madrid, one of the things I rant about is that Vinny Jr. in this last season doesn't want to work hard. He wants to walk around. He wants to lose the ball. He wants to pick out late passes. And you know what? You're not Messi. You're not Mbappe, bro. You need to work harder. And I think it's been hurting Real Madrid because the way that they're playing is that they've got two superstars that want to walk all game up top. I'll tell you this, from watching all the Real Madrid games, all the UCL matches, even the craziness when they went on that run with Vinny, Benzema, Rodrigo was there for a lot of that late game magic. He was making a lot of the stuff happen. I really like Rodrigo. I really do. Maybe I have a soft spot for him. I think he's an incredible talent. I think he's an incredibly hardworking player. And when you take a look at the way Liverpool wants to instill their style with who they're bringing in, Liverpool, to me, are just press gods. Like, man, when I watch this team play, it's always the funny thing that people had the rumors over the years about them using inhalers because of the way that this team was running. So I think Rodrigo is actually a very good fit. But Liverpool fans, the only way this is going to happen is if you are going to sell Diaz first, because you're not going to just buy Rodrigo. You've already splurged 130 on Wirtz. Ekatike cost you 80 to 90. You brought in two new fullbacks, potentially the best ones in the league, if not top three now, ahead of this season. I think Frimpong is going to turn out to be an incredible signing. I know you sold Trent. So you have to look at it that I think they're going to have to sell a bit of business to bring in a player like Rodrigo. Also, another team that was linked with Rodrigo was Arsenal. And a Madrid page is saying that he's not going to Arsenal. That's closed. That makes sense. We've heard this cool down a lot recently. So what do you guys think? Liverpool fans and Premier League fans and fans of football, like, do you think selling Diaz for 80 and then bringing in Rodrigo, I think the wages may be a bit more for Rodrigo. Do you think that's a good play? I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I don't think I mean, you look at this team, bro. Yeah, woo. Woo. Crazy team, that's a crazy, like, that is why I think Chelsea will end up being a sleeping giant, especially if they get Xavi Simons, because who is going to bet against that team from winning the Premier League? Nobody. It's just nobody. So, we take a look at the way the rest of the league is, bringing in players. Obviously, these are just like graphics. I didn't make these. I do think Man City will be a strong team that people are sleeping on. I'm not going to favor them to win the league. But, I think a healthy Rodri, bringing in Reindeer is a nice creative player. Look, they're going to be a tough team. I'm not previewing the season, but I'm looking at some of these potential lineups. I think Marmoush is going to really shock people next year. I think he was so good this year. I think Marmoush is going to have a generational second season. This is not going to happen anymore, so you guys can write that off. But Zubamendi, Gyökeres. Look, Arsenal, the only player I've seen I've seen Arsenal being significantly linked with Eze recently, but no bids, no club-to-club talks, and it does look like, I guess the main story of this video, Chelsea are now in talks with Xavi Simons. I love it. Let me know what you guys are thinking, man. We're just reacting to some stuff that's going on today in the football world. Bring on the season, man. I'm telling you, I think this is going to be the best Premier League we have seen in a really long time. It's so funny. Liverpool buys all these players, and every other team is hitting the panic button. Even a team like Chelsea who has spent what they've spent in the last couple seasons, it looks like now, for the first time, Chelsea's actually just spending well, because some of the players they're now bringing in, and you look at how much they have spent, some of the other players they had, Mudryk, all these other players that now are kind of on the way out, that just didn't work. So let's call Chelsea a sleeping giant. See you next time.